Buying an RV is such an exciting thing, but it can also be a little scary because for most of us, next to buying a home, it's the most expensive purchase we've ever made. So, how do we know we're not going to buying a lemon?
Well, when you buy a home, you have a home inspector check it out before you put down the money. Well, you can do the same thing with an RV. And in our interview of the week, we're going to meet an official from the RV Inspectors Association. Joining us right now from the National RV Inspectors Association is Stephanie Henson. She is the Director of Administration for let's get this right, the NRVIA.
Yes, sir.
NRVIA, I don't know how we pronounce it. And she comes to us from Athens, Texas. So welcome to the podcast, Stephanie. We're glad to have you on.
Thank you for having me.
Well, as you know, the RV business is exploding. And many, many people are in the midst of trying to come up with a way that they can get an RV, and that takes them searching for used RVs. Mm-hmm. And then come a lot of questions, because most of us are not qualified to really tell what's a good buy and what isn't. And
right.
That's where your group comes in. Talk about the history of your group and how it works, and from
Absolutely.
the consumer's end.
Okay. Well, so in our industry, what we talk about oftentimes is that people don't know what they don't know. And when they go to buy an RV, especially on a used unit, you don't know what kind of issues that you might be inheriting from that previous owner. So our organization comes in and helps. Think of like the home inspection market. When you buy a home, you have a home inspected before you buy it. It's the same concept on the RV side. If you're buying or selling an RV, you want someone to come in and be able to do a thorough examination of the condition of that unit before you purchase it or make that hefty investment. Some of these used motorhomes are still very expensive. So our organization started in 2013. We saw a need for this kind of service in our industry. We have always been in RV maintenance training. This is really a family-owned company. The gentleman who does our teaching is Terry Cooper, known as the Texas RV professor. Many of the people in our industry are familiar with Terry Cooper already, and he was getting phone calls and really just inundated by people who knew his skills and his knowledge, wanting him to come in and, hey, Cooper, check out this unit for me before I buy it. And so because of those repeat asks and seeing how people were being kind of taken advantage of on the used RV side, he felt like there should be some kind of standardization out there for what needs to be checked on an RV before it's purchased or before it's even sold sometimes if the inspection's purchased by the seller. So our organization was formed. We started recruiting across the United States for individuals who would want to start an RV inspection business. And we put together the training that was needed for that. And we formed a standards of practice and a code of ethics that our members would need to follow as part of being an NRVIA inspector. And we've been recruiting since then. We went into business as far as actually booking inspections in January of 2014. And our industry has just continued to grow. We currently have around 375 active inspectors across the United States. And we hold classes every month to recruit new members, obviously, and get their training done so they can become certified. And we are all over the United States. Obviously, we have more members in certain areas like Texas and Florida. California, Arizona, the states where there's a lot of heavy RV sales. But we do have members across the United States to be able to help any RV buyer.
Now, Stephanie, how would this work? Let's just say I found a travel trailer, for example, that I'm interested in, and it's 5 or 6 years old, but it looks good to me, but I don't know. So how do I then get an inspector what's the process for bringing one of your inspectors on? What kind of things do they check? And it could be a motor home. It could be a different type
Right.
of an RV. Do they have expertise in all of those areas?
Absolutely. So our inspectors are trained to be able to check any type of RV, as long as it's, travel trailer, fifth wheel, motorhome, all classes. The one thing that I guess two things that the NRVIA kind of shies away from, and that's park models and tiny homes, because they're built differently, and that's not part of what we train our inspectors to inspect. The easiest way to find an inspector when you're ready to have an inspection is our website, which is nrvia.org. We have a locator system on our site that is usable by the public, and you just search by city and state for wherever that RV is located, and a list of the inspectors that are located in that area will come up. You can check out kind of like their inspector profile before you give them a call. They have their own websites. Oftentimes they have their own Facebook business page where they'll share pictures and information about their inspections that they're doing. And you can just get in touch with them by calling or emailing. An inspector is going to be able to tell you, obviously, their availability, but also be able to break down what they do in their inspection. Some inspectors offer like a low scale, maybe just a safety items only inspection. And then they may offer a more thorough, detailed inspection that takes several hours to do. So the inspector can share pricing and inspection points for you to be able to select what they have to offer.
Well, give us a ballpark. What are some of the costs that might be involved? And then what are the things that they would check? Let's use my example of a travel trailer and then maybe also a motorhome. What do they check? And I know you said there's different tiers that people can buy, but ballpark figures. And I assume they will go to wherever the RV is, if it's in a private driveway or if it's at a dealership lot, and they will check it there. Is that true?
Yeah, each inspector runs his or her own business, so things can vary depending on who you're talking to. But for the most part, when a client calls in and wants to know how much I can expect to pay, I let them know. If you're looking at like a Class A motorhome, that's what the typical buyer is purchasing. People who are buying these higher end units are the ones, usually getting inspections. They would expect to spend no less than probably $300 or $400. And it could be upwards to $800, maybe even $1,000, depending on the unit, what all is included in the inspection. It's kind of like the more details that you get in your report, that's the more time the inspector is going to need to spend, so the investment's a little bit higher. We also, for motorhomes, can do fluid analysis testing, where we actually take a sample of the engine oil, transmission fluid, radiator fluid, and think of it as like annual blood work, but for your engine and your transmission. We can provide the customer with a very detailed report that indicates whether there are, maybe certain types of metals or fluids that are in those components that shouldn't be, and what that means, the recommended maintenance to get that fixed. But the typical things for an inspection, there's so much. The average inspection report is around 50 pages long, includes some pictures and data on the rig. But we will do safety checks, like checking for hot skin. We do propane leaks tests, make sure that the propane system is not leaking. We obviously check all of the detectors and make sure they're in code. We check the tires. We not only check for condition, but we check the date codes, because you have to replace your tires every 5 to 7 years, regardless of how many miles are on them. We do things like we will check for water intrusion. One thing that people usually don't do when they buy a used rig is get up on the roof and check out the roof condition. And oftentimes, visually, you can see signs of past damage or current damage that indicates there's another issue going on there that you just can't see under the skin. We check all the sealants, and we look for cracks and things like that that might indicate another issue going on inside the rig. Yeah, we'll check your refrigerator, your air conditioner, the systems and appliances that are on the RV.
So this is peace of mind in buying, of course, a used RV. I would imagine that your inspectors have found some pretty amazing things that the average buyer would not have known about if he had just bought it without an inspection. Can you share any of those anecdotes about things that they have found?
Sure. The most memorable one, kind of humorous, and this was from our early days. There was a lady over in California who was looking at a Class C in Florida, and she called us up and asked for an inspector to go out and check this unit because she didn't want to purchase the airfare to fly down and take a look at it. She would rather us take a look at it for her, and then if she liked it after the report, she was going to go pick it up. We arrived on site, and the unit had a bunch of Florida, like University of Florida Gator stickers on, like decals on the sidewalls. There was probably like 5 or 6. It was a little too much, honestly. And so the inspectors, kind of caught his attention, and he's taking pictures, and he starts noticing that there are kind of a ripple within the decal. And he started pulling it back, and there was actually sidewall cracks. And these decals were being used like patches. Even though the seller indicated, oh yeah, the guy that I bought it from was a big Florida Gator fan. But regardless, they were being used to hide defects. So he took pictures of it, sent it, texted it over to the potential buyer. She backed out of the sale immediately because she said, look, if he's trying to hide this, then obviously this is not the unit I want to purchase.
Yeah, boy, you can certainly see why that would would stop that sale. And I think that one thing that was interesting is sometimes RVs are really hard to find, particularly like used Class Bs, and they may be in another part of the country.
Right.
So instead of investing $500 in an airplane ticket,
Right.
investing it in an RV inspector before you really get excited about it is not a bad way to spend that money.
Absolutely. Sometimes the inspectors will start the inspection and find maybe a couple of like really big issues and go ahead and call the client and say, look, I haven't even made it through my first page of information, and these are the things I've found. Do you want me to continue the inspection? Because, oftentimes the client will say, okay, never mind, thank you. And we get a lot of repeat business. And clients are so impressed with the amount of information they get, and especially if they're in love with a particular floor plan that they're trying to hunt down a used unit, and so they've got to look at multiple units across the United States. They'll use our inspectors, 2 or 3 times before they find the unit that fits their floor plan, their budget, and checks out with our inspection.
Well, money well spent. Now, turning it around, this is a career opportunity for, I would imagine, a lot of people who maybe they've got a mechanical background, they're really good, they've been RVing for a while, and they're looking for a way to build a business and allow them to use it. How does one become an RV inspector?
Sure. So we actually have 2 different ways. We do have a training path for the type of person that you were just describing, where maybe they already have a mechanical background with RVs. Maybe they've been RVing for several years themselves and are pretty familiar with the components. Or maybe they're also a tech. Maybe they actually own an RV repair business, but they want to add this to their existing business. We have an online training program for that type of individual. And it's kind of, think of it as like an online college course. You watch some material, take quizzes, take exams, and fulfill your certification through that route, which is done directly on our website, nrvia.org. Or for the individual who maybe is new to RVing, or maybe a home inspector who wants to add RVs to his existing inspection business. Or a lot of people that we have in our organization are full-time RVers. They've hit the road and they're traveling full-time, but they're operating an inspection business on the road. Helps them write off some of their travel expenses. So we have a hands-on class for those students, and most of the people who come to our organization to become members have come through our hands-on course. It's a 5-day class that's held at the National RV Training Academy in Athens, Texas. And we go over all of the RV systems and appliances that they are going to be, encountering during their inspection. And we have an advanced inspector course that's also available hands-on, where we put them through full-scale, very detailed inspections, fluid analysis testing, things like that, so that they can offer the best services to their customers.
Well, it's just a great opportunity for people who want to start a business on the side, but particularly for most of our listeners and watchers here on our RV Lifestyle channel on YouTube. This is also a way to have peace of mind. It's very hard to get. It takes almost a year now to buy a new RV and have it made at the factory. Many people are going to the lots, buying used or buying units that have been sitting around lots. And I think this is a great service, and we want to recommend it. We'll put a link to the NRVIA.org website in the show notes for this episode. Hey, thank you so much for being a part of the podcast, and best to you guys. And thanks for providing that service.
Thanks for inviting us to be on the show today.
The RVIA is nationwide, and chances are you've got an inspector near you.
Now, if you like this video, would you do us a favor and give us a thumbs up? Google really likes it when we get thumbs up. So do we. Also, please subscribe to our RV Lifestyle channel right here on YouTube. We're Mike and Jennifer Wendland. Thanks for watching.
Happy trails!